In a world ravaged by a fungal infection, where humanity teeters on the brink of extinction, we find Joel and Ellie, two survivors fighting not just for their lives, but for a reason to keep living. This isn't just the plot of the critically acclaimed game and TV series The Last of Us. It's a stark reflection of the absurdist philosophy explored in Albert Camus' The Myth of Sisyphus. Imagine for a moment, you're Sisyphus, condemned by the gods to push a boulder up a hill for eternity, only to watch it roll back down each time. Now picture Joel, trudging through a post-apocalyptic America, facing waves of infected and hostile humans, all while protecting a girl who might be humanity's last hope. Are these scenarios really so different? Camus argued that life is inherently meaningless, that we're all Sisyphus, endlessly pushing our own boulders. But here's the kicker. He didn't see this as a reason for despair. Instead, he proposed that we should embrace this absurdity, find joy in the struggle itself. He argues that Sisyphus finds happiness not in the outcome of his task, but in the doing of it. But how does this apply to a world as brutal as The Last of Us? Let's look at Joel. He's lost everything: his daughter, his faith in humanity, his hope for the future. In many ways, he's the embodiment of nihilism, seeing no point in anything beyond mere survival. But then he meets Ellie. Suddenly, he has a purpose, a reason to keep pushing that boulder. Is this what Camus meant by revolting against the absurd? Ellie, on the other hand, was born into this harsh world. She's never known anything else. Yet she finds wonder in the remnants of the old world. A comic book, an arcade game, even a giraffe wandering through an abandoned city. She's living proof that joy can be found even in the most dire circumstances. But here's where it gets interesting. The central plot of The Last of Us revolves around finding a cure, a way to save humanity. It's a noble goal, a clear purpose. Yet Camus might argue that this search for meaning is itself absurd. After all, in a universe indifferent to human suffering, does saving humanity really matter? This brings us to a crucial question. Is it the goal that gives life meaning, or is it the journey itself? Joel and Ellie's relationship evolves as they travel across America. They form a bond, a surrogate father-daughter relationship. In a world devoid of hope, they find meaning in each other. It's a stark reminder that even in the face of absurdity, our connections with others can give life meaning. Camus wrote, "The struggle itself toward the heights is enough to fill a man's heart." In other words, it's not about reaching the top of the hill. It's about finding satisfaction in the climb. Joel and Ellie's journey isn't just about finding a cure. It's about rediscovering their humanity, their capacity for love and trust in a world that seems to have lost both. But let's not sugarcoat it. The world of The Last of Us is brutal. People are killed, betrayed, infected. How can one find meaning in such relentless suffering? Camus would argue that it's precisely in these moments of despair that we must choose to live, to rebel against the absurdity of our existence. This is where the concept of radical freedom comes into play. Both Camus and The Last of Us suggest that we are free to choose our actions, even if we can't control their outcomes. Joel's decision to save Ellie from the fireflies, potentially dooming humanity but preserving the life of someone he's come to love, is a prime example of this. It's a choice that defines his existence, much like Sisyphus choosing to embrace his boulder. But with this freedom comes a heavy burden. Joel's choice, while born out of love, has far-reaching consequences. It forces us to question, is the individual's happiness more important than the greater good? Is Joel's decision to save Ellie justified, even if it means denying humanity a potential cure? These questions touch on the core of existentialism, the idea that we must create our own meaning in a universe that offers none. In The Last of Us, characters constantly redefine themselves and their purposes. Joel transforms from a hardened survivor to a protective father figure. Ellie finds strength and identity in her immunity and her bond with Joel. Even in a world where traditional roles have crumbled, they strive for authenticity. This search for authenticity is mirrored in Camus' interpretation of Sisyphus. By accepting his fate and finding satisfaction in his endless task, Sisyphus becomes truly himself. He is, as Camus puts it, stronger than his rock. Remember the scene where Joel and Ellie encounter the giraffes? It's a moment of pure wonder, a reminder that beauty can exist even in a broken world. It's these moments, Camus might say, that make life worth living. Not because they give life inherent meaning, but because we choose to find joy in them despite the absurdity of our situation. So, is it worth keeping on living in a world like The Last of Us? Camus would likely say yes, but not for the reasons we might think. Not because we might save humanity, not because things might get better, but simply because we can. Because in choosing to live, in choosing to push that boulder, we assert our freedom in the face of an indifferent universe. Joel and Ellie's story reminds us that even in the darkest times, we have a choice. We can succumb to despair, or we can rebel against it. We can find meaning in our relationships, in moments of beauty, in the very act of survival itself. In the end, The Last of Us and the myth of Sisyphus converge on a similar conclusion. Life may be absurd, it may be painful, it may seem pointless at times, but it's ours to live. And in that choice, to keep living, to keep pushing that boulder, we find our ultimate freedom. So the next time you feel like Joel, weighed down by the futility of it all, remember Ellie's wonder at the giraffe. Remember that you have the power to find meaning, even if the universe doesn't provide it. Remember that the struggle itself can be enough. And maybe, just maybe, you'll find yourself agreeing with Camus when he said, "One must imagine Sisyphus happy."